Swamin Namaste Natalokabandho Karunya Sindho Patitam Bhavabdhau Mamuddharatmiya Kataksha Drishtya Rijvyati Karunya Sudhabhivrishtya Swamin Namaste, Swamin Namaste, Swamin Namaste, Swamin Namaste. Adhokshajalambhamiha shubhatmanah sharirina Samsriti chakrashatanam tad brahma nirvana sukham vidurbudhaha tato bhajadvam hridaye hridishwaram tato bhajadvam hridaye hridishwaram tato bhajadvam Hridaye Hridishwaram. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru. So we are still discussing the Nimi-Navayogi Samvada. Particularly I am discussing what the Yogi Prabuddha told King Nimi. And as we have been seeing that in this spiritual path, for the spiritual knowledge, there are many concepts which are necessary to understand, to follow, to pursue. And in doing so, to be able to do so, one must have some disciplines in the life. Some kind of restraining the mind, restraining the senses, trying to be sattvic, getting away from the tamasika and rajasika tendencies, and develop more and more sattvika tendencies. And as we do so, what happens is the mind becomes calm, restful, tranquil, so that in that calm mind, the self, which is our real identity, which we are, we always are, the changeless one, the imperishable one, that self reveals itself. And one can realize it. As long as the mind is restless, mind is agitated, disturbed, full of various kinds of thoughts, even though the real identity and our self is there, it is not perceived, it cannot be perceived, because the mind is not restful, the intelligence is not sharp. So all these disciplines are actually necessary. And in Vedanta, we have seen many times that we have to develop, any seeker has to develop in sadhana chatushtayam. That is, one must become eligible for sadhana. And in Vedanta we have seen, it is described as sadhana chatushtaya, where the first one is nitya nitya vastu vivekaha. That is the viveka or discrimination between what is nitya and what is anitya. That is what is permanent and what is impermanent. What is true, what is false. What is everlasting and what is short-lived. So, the first one is that, and then ihamutra phalabhoga viragaha. As we do viveka, that is, we only look for what is nitya or changeless in life, imperishable in life, and constantly our mind should be having such thoughts which will make us understand what is conducive to remain in this Nitya Bhavana, dwelling on the thought of Brahman or self. To do that, our mind must come away from the worldly varieties. So the second one of Sadhana Chatushtaya is Ihamutra Phalabhoga Viragaha, dispassion for the world. Not only here, even in the other world. There is a lot of thought that there is, if you do this, we'll go to heaven, there we'll be always happy. Even desire for that should not be there. So viragaha, one must be dispassionate. Then shama damadi shatka sampatti, 6 qualities, which are the qualities of mind, intelligence, etc., etc. What is that? Shama is restraint of the mind, Dama is restraint of the senses. Then comes titiksha. Titiksha is forbearance, that whatever situation we are in, we do not grumble, we forbear, we endure. Even the thought that this should not be there, why am I having this situation? Such thoughts also should be sublimated. Titiksha, uparati. Our mind is always going outside. So, constantly watching our mind and seeing that it goes outside and gets scattered in many things, which takes us away from our goal, our real identity, our aim. So, upariti is constantly bringing back the mind and focusing it within ourselves. Uparati. Then Shraddha. Shraddha is what? Shraddha is absolutely focused. One mind should be focused on this goal. And Shraddha will be growing in one when one has Shraddha for the Shastra Vakya, what the Shastra says and what the Guru says. So the Shraddha is in the words of the Shastra and the words of the Guru. Having firm belief in that what is being told, that is the truth, and I should pursue it and go ahead. Not having doubts whether this is true, whether somebody else who says is true and this has no value. Not like that. Those who have this Shraddha in Shastra and Guru, they progress. One must be, absolutely as if a completely empty notebook. Let the words of the Shastra and the words of the Guru be written there and take to them and go forward. And then Samadhana is whatever we hear, whatever we understand, contemplating on that and trying to get into Samadhi. So this is Shama Damadi Shatka Sampatti, Shama Dama Adi. Shama, Dama, etc. Shatka Sampatti means 6 qualities. Then comes the 4th one. The first one was what? Iha Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekaha. Second one was Iha Mutra Phalabhoga Viragaha. The third one is Shama Damadi Shatka Sampatti. And the 4th one is Mumuksha. All this will be possible when we have mumuksha. What is mumuksha? The desire or yearning for mukti, liberation. Liberation from what? Liberation from the shackles of the mind and intelligence. We are bound. We are constantly bound by what? By our tendencies, our nature, our ideas, our attitudes, and our traits like anger, impatience, hatred, dislike, all these things which agitate our mind, the tensions, the worries, the anxieties, unfulfillment, discontentment, remaining always dissatisfied, always wanting something. So these traits, the traits which constantly, they're constantly roaming about in our mind, constantly disturbing our mind, doesn't allow our mind to remain calm even for a little while. These traits, we want actually mukti from that, liberated from that. We want to become free. Many times when we feel like that, many times it happens that we feel, so much of tension, so much of thoughts, what I am supposed to do next, what to decide next. We remain confused. The mind feels like becoming free. So the liberation is from the shackles of mind and intelligence. Whatever binds us, all these tendencies bind us, make us constricted, doesn't allow us to expand. And ultimately it is when we pursue this path and go forward, holding on to and getting support from the Shastras and the Guru, ultimately we will see that it is the liberation from this wrong idea that I am this body, the self. The body which is changeful, we consider that as the I. But actually, the self, the I, is changeless, imperishable. To realize that truth, that is the ultimate goal. So, now to be able to pursue this, we must have some disciplines. Just as I was telling you, that we must have this viveka and vairagya. How will the mind be wanting to pursue this path? How can we increase the yearning for this path? There are so many things which allure us in our world. How the mind can come away from that and starts loving this path and the aim which is in front of us. This is very abstract, very imaginary. We do not, even if we pursue, immediately do not get anything as a reward or award. Then how to make the mind love this path more than what our senses are looking at and loving to attain them? To be able to do that, we need to have some discipline. We need to have some kind of restraint. And there are so many ways, that is these Shastras, these Puranas, especially Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita also. It tells us the way, that these are the things by which you will start loving this path more and more. And how do we do it? Initially it is worship, then we start introspecting, then we start with the study of the scriptures, association of the Mahatmas or the Gurus, and whatever we hear or listen, we contemplate upon that, start thinking about that, we do vichara and find out that all the sukha, all the happiness that we get from the worldly objects, from this whole world, nothing will make us permanently happy. The happiness is only for a short while. The everlasting happiness, the permanent happiness, will come only from the realization of the self. So this is how we should constantly do vichara. This vichara should be done throughout the day, whatever work we are doing. We get a lot of time to do vichara actually. When we are engaged in a very important work where our mind has to be engaged, our intelligence has to be engaged, maybe not at that time. But we have got so much time to do the vichara when we are going to bed, just before you sleep off, think. When we are bathing, we can do this vichara. When we are dressing up, we can do. We do not do because we are habituated not to do. We are habituated by other thoughts. Nobody has taught us from our childhood that this is the way we should think. And so when we start doing, it takes time. Now, all this, through stories, like Nimi and Navayogi Samvada, it is in a story form. But what is the story telling us? Telling us various ways and various disciplines. And never think that disciplines are too difficult to do. All are very interesting, I should say. If we really give our mind, we will find that they are very interesting. We can do them. And so through all these stories, what we are taught is that how to become wholesome in our path, on the spiritual path, or the spiritual pursuit that we have taken. So, we were doing this shloka, 11.3.26 in Srimad Bhagavatam. Shraddham Bhagavate Shastre Anindam Anyatra Chapihi Mano Vak Karmadandam Cha Satyam Shamadamavapi. So we did the first line. Shraddha, what is Shraddha we have done. And it is, Shraddha is something which is absolutely necessary. Just now also I spoke about Shraddha. See, in this devotional text also, he is telling that Shraddha is necessary. In Vedanta also, Sadhana Chatushtayam, Shraddha is necessary. Shraddha is the first thing that we must have. Just like it is, I think it is very easy to understand. We get admitted to schools. We send our children to school. We have also all studied in schools. There, what is the difference between various students? That is the difference in Shraddha. A student who scores good marks, gets a rank, his Shraddha, his focus on the studies, his diligence and interest in the study is definitely more than the others who are not getting good marks. Similarly, this is the greatest vidya, the spiritual science, the spiritual path, the spiritual knowledge. That is the greatest of the knowledge that we can think of, which is telling us about our own self, not about anything outside. Since we do not know ourselves, we suffer in this world. And our Shastras, they are constantly telling us, come, listen to what you are. Shinbantu Vishve Amritasya Putraha. It says that, O Amritasya Putraha, the children of immortality, don't think you are mortal. Don't be always fearful that you are going to die. There is something which does not die, and that is the self, that you are. So, O children of immortality, listen. There is something to be known. And if you know that, which is yourself, you will be considering yourself as immortal. You will never feel that you are dying. So, our Shastras are constantly telling us this. So, Shraddha has to be there. It says, this shloka says, Shraddham Bhagavate Shastre Anindam Anyatra Chapihi. So, whatever text you are reading, you must have Shraddha in that. Sometimes you may not understand what is being written here in any of the texts. Whether you read an Upanishad, a Bhagavad Gita, Yoga Vasishtha Ramayana, Bhagavatam, or anything else, any of the Prakaranas. We may read but may not understand. That doesn't mean that that text is not good for nothing. We are not understanding because maybe our intelligence should become more sharp to understand, or we should give more time to understand it. And just like I was taking the example of school, getting admitted to the school, say when we want to become, say, an engineer or doctor, how many years we study? Any kind of higher studies, how many years do we have to study? We have to study very hard to get settled in any particular line, in our profession, even in a business. How hard, what hard work we have to do. Similarly, here also, we have to be wholesomely interested, do hard work, and give whatever we do in our daily life, in our profession, in bringing up our children, our family, the mind should be feeling that this is the supreme. And whatever we do, through all that, one should be able to be enlightened and enriched about the self. My dear children, this is one thing that most people miss. For most people, the spiritual studies remain one study, one part of the life. And rest of the life remains different. This is not so. All that we learn in our text, our sacred text, our shastras, it should simply permeate into our whole life, so that in our moment-to-moment life, every moment, we will be able to feel the self, Brahman. Whatever was a differential attitude, a differential outlook, all will vanish. And for that, all these disciplines are given. We must slowly go through them, do vichara, think about that, love that, and then we will be able to progress. So, Shraddha Bhagavate Shastre Anindam Anyatra Chapihi. So, whatever we are reading, we feel that, oh, that is very good, and do not give value to other shastras, that is not right. And otherwise also, as I discussed last time, we should not criticize. Ninda and aninda. What is ninda? Ninda is criticism. Aninda is lack of criticism. We should take to lack of criticism. Do not criticize anybody, anytime. Do not discuss. So that is why in Bhagavatam itself it says that Anyasya dosha guna chintanam ashu muktva seva katha rasamaho nitaram pibatvam. It says that do not vitiate your mind by discussing about somebody's bad traits and even good qualities. Do not discuss anything. Sometimes we will be very elated by somebody's good qualities. We'll be talking about it. Neither that is necessary, nor criticism is necessary. Ashu muktva. It says anyasya means others, dosha guna chintanam. Others, thinking about others' dosha. Dosha means bad qualities. Guna means good qualities. Chintanam is a thought. Anyasya for others. Muktva. Be rid of that. Be rid of the thoughts, discussion of others, whether they have done something good or bad. Ashu. Ashu muktva means immediately get rid of. What is this immediately? You know the shastras. Every word is so important. Every word has a meaning. Every word has something to give us. Say this one sentence I am saying. It is one line of a shloka, the third line. What it is saying? Anyasya dosha guna chintanam ashu muktva. What is ashu? Immediately. Muktva. Having got rid of. This ashu word is very important. That is, as soon as we hear it, we should take to it. What? From this moment, having heard this line, which is our Shastra is saying, get rid of this habit if you have this habit. If you have this habit, and we all have this habit. Ashu muktva. Now, I have left something from my mind. My mind was always thinking about others. You see, it may not be good or bad. Our mind is always thinking about either myself or about others. Now, if I get into a habit of not thinking, which we should do actually, not thinking. Unnecessary thoughts. Either it is a thought of planning, or a thought of what we have lost, or a thought of anxiety, sorrow, or sometimes happiness also. So, these thoughts are whirling around in our mind. We must get rid of that. Why? The mind has to calm down. Don't think that you will be able to take to samadhi if you allow the mind to be in this kind of a whirlpool throughout the day. So throughout the day, whatever you are doing, you should do vichara and get sublimated from these thoughts. Remove them, remove them, remove them. So, ashu muktva. Immediately, as soon as we have heard this, we should take to this discipline of not thinking about or not discussing or thinking about anybody's good and bad traits. We may appreciate it. We may compliment a person, but not keep on thinking about it. Say somebody has done very well in exam, a small boy or girl, they have done. Or even own children. Or anything else. Somebody has got a promotion in the office. We definitely should be happy. We definitely should compliment. But we should not be constantly thinking about that, or spend a lot of our time thinking about that. And over that, what we can do? Oh, let us go and give a party. Oh, let us go out and celebrate this. All these things. These are unnecessary. So, ashu muktva, say, now we have taken to that discipline of not doing it. So the mind becomes vacant. What should it do? What will it do? It will get bored. So next it says, Anyasya dosha guna chintanam ashu muktva seva katha rasamaho nitaram pibatvam. Seva katha rasam. Aho. Aho is, calling somebody. It is addressing somebody. Aho. See. Seva katha rasam nitaram pibatvam. Nitaram means always, piba means drink, tvam means you. So, the sloka is giving a direction, has given a direction and says, leaving these thoughts, take to drinking the nectarine words of the Shastras, of devotees, of seers, wise people, what they do, what are their lifestyles, how they have grown in their path. Read those, and in reading those, you will be able to drink their qualities. Their qualities. What is their qualities? Wholesomeness, earnestness, aspiration, one-pointedness. All these seers and the self-realized masters, the true devotees, the exalted devotees, they have this quality. They have been wholesome, one-pointed in their pursuit, love for their pursuit, which normally ordinary seekers, when we start, we don't have. So it says that don't waste your time in these thoughts. In fact, instead, read about the realized people, the exalted high-soul devotees, and read about them and get filled with their determination, their resoluteness, their earnestness, their love for God. Nitaram pibatvam, drink that. Do you understand? One sentence, it's such an instruction. My dear children, most of the time, we will only read, we will only listen, we will not practice. We don't practice. And what is the practice? Anything, anything very good, we would like to have. So when anything good is being told, we should simply take it and practice it. Maybe we will not be able to practice it fully and successfully. Let it be. But the mind should be that I should practice. That is aspiration. That is called aspiration. That is called yearning. And this is not a short time practice. It's not that for 2 hours you practice it and rest of the 22 hours you don't practice it. You get into all worldly things which are opposed to this practice. So in spiritual sadhana, that is why any discipline that you take up, it should completely permeate your thoughts, your speeches, your action, your interactions. Next it says, Mano vak karma dandam cha satyam shamadamavapi. So this is very important. Mano vak karma dandam. What is mano vak karma dandam? That is, the mind and the speech has to be restrained. It has to be restrained. Why? If we do not do that, then what will happen? The mind will be going on in the unbridled manner, here and there, and will think of this thing, that thing. If you are a spiritual seeker, you must not allow that. You should be, your conducive thoughts you should grow in, so that your mind becomes wholesome. Your mind feels happier to be in the thought of self or Brahman or God, and not so happy when you are in worldly thoughts. So how do you do it? And about the mind, Bhagavad Gita has said, what Bhagavad Gita has said, see, it says in the 2nd chapter only, Yatato hyapi kaunteya, it is 2.60. It says, Indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manaha. The senses should be restrained. The senses always take the mind away. Even if you are trying to put your mind and you focus your mind in something, the senses are such, unless you restrain the senses are such that it will be constantly showing you, see, 5 senses are there and they will take the mind to the corresponding objects, and the mind will be allured, the mind will start thinking about it. So the mind will be absolutely restless. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling Arjuna that, oh Arjuna, to be taking to this pursuit, you must restrain your mind, because these senses are it will violently pull away your mind. Even if you are a striving person, you are a seeker who has been seeking for a long time, you have the wish, the senses will violently take your mind away. And then he says in 2.67, Indriyanam hi charatam yanmano nuvidhiyate tadasya harati pradyam vayurnavam ivambhasi. It says that the mind's nature is that whichever sense organ has interacted with its object and the mind falls on it, that sense organ will be able to take the mind away. The mind will follow that sense organ, and ultimately it will lose all discrimination. What is the discrimination? The introspection, vichara, viveka, nitya vastu vivekaha, understanding what is good for me and what is not good for me. The mind completely loses it. So, tadasya harati pradyam vayurnavam ivambhasi. Just like when there is a boat and it goes into the sea, if there is a very big storm, the boat capsizes. Similarly, if we don't restrain the senses, then what happens? it will simply take away the mind and allow it to go, and ultimately the mind will lose the discrimination and it will be lost. You will have no hold over it. Because this indriyas, each sense organ, whatever objects they interact with, there is either attraction or repulsion. Suppose, say, I see a sweet, I will feel like taking it. Suppose I feel something which I don't like, I will be repelled. So the organ, I, this is the two things, attraction and repulsion. It is the same for all sense organs. So it is in the nature of the sense organ that it will either attract us or repel us. So because of this attraction or repulsion, whatever the mind will follow the sense organ, mind will be disturbed. If the mind follows it and goes towards it, liking it, then there is one problem. If the mind is repelled by it, then there is another problem. Anyway, so the mind has to be given a danda. It says, mano vak karma dandam. So by this, only thing I told about these Gita shlokas, because in Gita shlokas there is, in the 18th chapter, what is Vangmaya tapa was Shariram tapa. What is Vangmaya tapa? That is the tapasya, austerity for the body, austerity for the speech, austerity for the mind. All those are very, very nicely described. I have done it also earlier. So here the words which Yogi Prabuddha is using is mano vak karma dandam. Now why dandam? Dandam is you give some kind of punishment. Like small children will be shown a stick, or if you have to discipline somebody, you will show a stick. Even if you beat or not, that is different. If a stick is shown, we know that we have to be restrained. So they have to be given a stick of restraint. So the mind should be under one's control. What is that restraint? We should constantly be introspecting and doing vichara. We should discriminate what the mind is wanting to do. Is it right? Is it good? Or is it not? And seeing that, you must be able to control it, restrain it. And the mind has to be restrained. Mind has to be restrained from worldly thoughts where the mind gets scattered. And it should be directed towards what thought? The thought of Brahman, thought of God. How the mind can be directed? Through this reading, listening, worshipping, chanting, growing in love for that. So that instead of, and as I said, as this shloka was saying, reading about the stories, reading about the life stories of Mahatmas, the great souled ones, the realized masters, understanding their qualities and trying to imbibe those qualities. So, taking the mind away from distractions, you must guide it and give it something more lovable so that the mind gets restrained by itself. So by vichara, direct the mind where it should go or not go. Be master of the mind. That is, we should not be slave of the mind. We should be master of the mind. My dear children, I am telling this. What does it really mean? Every moment we are acting. And what is the act? When we see something or something is to be done, the mind will think about it, the intelligence will give an instruction, and then we act. So, every moment we should not be just acting. We should step inside, look inside, do some vichara, understand what is to be done, what is being done, whether the mind and intelligence are going in the right direction or not. That is, thoughtlessly we should not work. For each and every action, a spiritual seeker should not do anything hurriedly, suddenly, and without any thought. He or she should step back, even for a moment, and go inside, see what is to be done, understand. It will take only one moment maybe, but do that. By this, many things can be avoided. Many things can be avoided. So, be the master of the mind. Always remain in a sakshi bhava. What is the sakshi bhava? That is, observe the mind. Do not get entangled with the mind. We get entangled with the mind. Suppose a thought comes, we get entangled. Suppose a thought of the son has come in the mind, we'll think, oh, will he do good in his exams? Or suppose he doesn't, will he get admission in an engineering college or whatever? Or any sickness? We start thinking so much in our head as if something very bad has happened. So whatever thought comes, we generally get entangled with the thought and we get into a net, caught in a net of thoughts. Be a sakshi, an observer. Let the thoughts, the mind's nature is thought. So the mind, let the thoughts come and go. Do not get entangled. Just like suppose we are sitting in a veranda and watching the roadside, a busy roadside from where vehicles are plying, buses are plying, cars are plying, people are going, children are going to school. So many things you'll see. We don't go behind that. Whatever we see, we don't go behind those things. We just allow the scene to cross. Similarly, we must try to have an observer's position, which is called witness position in the mind. See the thoughts and allow it to go. Do not get involved in the thought. That kind of a danda. How will you do it? By vichara. So, speech. Then, mano vak karma dandam. That vak is what? Speech. Speak only when necessary. Only when necessary we should speak. We speak unnecessarily. And that actually takes away a lot of energy. Not only that, completely makes the mind, which say by your spiritual pursuit, maybe if you have some pursuit in the morning or evening, you have been able to bring the mind close to your Atma. By unnecessary speaking, everything gets scattered. So this restraint of speech is very, very important. Think several times. Suppose you have to say something. Think several times. Is it necessary to say? Is it necessary to say? If we look into ourselves, we'll find most of the time we are talking unnecessarily. If you are in a group and people are saying something, everyone will want to say something. If you tell a group of people that you sit together, but you should not talk about anybody, you will find that nobody will be able to say anything, because most of the people will be talking about some incident or other. So, it is very important that we restrain the speech and avoid all kinds of hurting words. All kinds of hurting words. It's a great, great resolve, In our day-to-day life, we just do not understand how we hurt people, how we interact with people, how we behave with people. Small sentences or talks, it hurts people. Even if we do not speak out, our mental attitudes hurt people. All these are necessary. You may ask why. What is the relation with self-realization? Yes. When we have these tendencies, we are actually having an impure mind, a restless mind. The mind has to be calmed down. Then karma dandam. What is karma dandam? Karma. How can we make the karma so that what kind of karma we should do, what kind of action should we do so that we are having no agitation in the mind? Is it not that from the morning when we get up, we are active? We'll get up, we'll brush our teeth, we will take our bath, we'll maybe cook something, take breakfast in the house, children will be sent to the school, then people will go to the office, the housewives will have to do the household work, otherwise also you have to go and get your groceries, vegetables from the market, you have to think, you have to do so many things. And your profession, you have to work. So activity does not stop at all. Even if you sit quietly at a time, you do not have any activity as such. Say the old people, they are active because the mind is constantly thinking. That is also activity. So karma dandam, we must restrain it. And restrain means, see this mano, vak, karma, 3 have been given. So whatever I said, even in the mind, how will whatever I said actually, in a sense, it is the thought should be sattvic. Speech should be sattvic. That is, when it goes away from tamasika and rajasika traits and takes to the sattvic tendencies, then automatically the mind becomes restful. And to do that, this restraint is necessary. So in action also, we have to see what are the activities, in what way we should do activities so that the mind is calm, which is towards the sattvic tendency. So in Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, 23rd verse, it says, Niyatam sangarahitam aragadveshata kritam aphala prepsuna karma yattad sattvikam uchyate. Niyatam sangarahitam. That is, whatever action we do, say from morning whatever we do, some are very usual work. Like we are taking bath, brushing teeth, taking bath, wearing dress, cooking, eating. Even there also some Sanga can come. That is, whatever activity you have to do, it should be done in such a manner that the activity is itself sattvika. So, how should you do the activity? Niyatam sangarahitam. You should not get a sanga, that is a clinging, an attachment to the work that you are doing. Even very trivial work we get attached to. Even, one gets attached to the spiritual disciplines and devotional disciplines. So much so, attachment is never okay. So much so that if they are disturbed there, they get annoyed and angry. You are trying to meditate, you are in a family, your child comes and disturbs you, you are angry. Or you are told to get up and do something very urgently, you are angry. Why? Because we are having a clinging to it. Whether it is a worldly activity or whether it is a spiritual activity, we should not have any clinging. Niyatam sangarahitam. Niyatam means always. Sangarahitam. No clinging should be there. Whatever work you are doing, whether you are in the house, domestic circle, or in the profession, or wherever, always through vichara, through introspection, find out why the mind got agitated. You will find that there is some desire, some clinging. That is why. Why the mind is not feeling happy? Some desire, some clinging. Why the mind is afflicted? Some desire, some clinging. And for a seeker, it is absolutely essential to see what it is. See what it is. Then only, unless we find it out, if we find it out, we can take it out. And since it is everything in the mind, only you can do it. Only the seeker can do it. Nobody from outside can tell what is the desire, what is the clinging. Oneself has to take out the clinging or the desire so that the mind becomes Sanga rahitam and calm. Aragadveshata kritam. And not only that, whatever work you are doing, you should do with aragadveshataha. That is, without any likes and dislikes. When we do work, suppose some work has come, immediately our mind becomes either happy or unhappy according to what work has come and whether we like it or not. If it is a job which we like and we are quite given to it, we find it interesting, we'll be happy. If it is not, then we become unhappy. But it should not be so. Aragadveshata kritam. Any work, first of all, any work, we should not see whether it is a small work, it is a big work, it is an important work, it is an unimportant work. With no consideration of that. Work has come, I have to do, I will do. And I will do with all my effort, with excellence and perfection. That should be the attitude. After that, whatever result comes, maybe somebody else will be doing it better than you, that is different. I have put all my effort, all my heart, and all my mind to it so that I work excellently and perfectly. Whether it is a work where there is no scope of any appreciation, then also with whatever effort and mind I should work, I should be working. If there is a work, if I do it, there will be a lot of name and fame. So no likes and dislikes. And this is true for a simple housewife to a person who is having very high posts. Everybody, a child and an old person. Everybody. Niyatam sangarahitam. My dear children, these slokas you should remember by heart. What is this? 18.23 of Bhagavad Gita. And there is one, I have not taken that. Acha, okay, next line is aphala prepsuna karma. Niyatam sangarahitam araga dveshata kritam aphala prepsuna karma. Aphala prepsuna means what? So I have given all my heart and soul, full effort, full mind. As much as I am capable of, I am giving, trying to do it with perfection and excellence. Not making any differentiation between whether it is a small work, big work, very difficult work or easy work. Nothing like that. So, whatever result it fetches, it will fetch. I should not be thinking of some very particular result or particular appreciation, particular name and fame. Whatever, if I do the work properly and nice, whatever has to come as a result will come. That kind of karma is called sattvika. If any work we do, see, it is even for, we do worship, we light a lamp, we light some incense sticks, we pluck flowers and clean them and keep them. Even there, niyatam sanga rahitam. How? Sanga comes that you become attached to the manner in which it should be done, the manner in which everything should be clean or what, the things that you want there, the time that you want to do, the time that you want to start or the duration that you want to sit there, the slokas that you want to chant, or the time for which you want to sit for meditation. There also a lot of Sanga comes. So, whether it is a devotional work or not, niyatam sangarahitam aragadveshadakritam. Don't differentiate between what you like and do not like. So, aphala prepsuna karma yattat satvikam uchyate. So, this is one thing. In what way we should do work then? We are doing work. We are saying excellently, etc., etc. What happens then? If we do like this, with a sattvika bhava, we do not having any Sanga, trying to constantly sublimate the Sanga. How will you sublimate? You introspect and find where is the Sanga, why I am not having, if we really do like this, there will be a lot of expansion in the mind, a coolness in the mind. Having done a big job, we will still feel that you have done nothing. There will be so much of blissfulness inside. Now, what happens is then, if we can do like this, keeping aside the Sanga, then sublimating Raga and Dvesha, not expecting whatever phala we will get. What happens is that Atma Shuddhi. In 5th chapter, 11th shloka, Krishna is telling Arjuna, Kayena manasa buddhya kevalairindrayairapi yogina karma kurvanti sangam tyaktvatma shuddhaye. So, the seekers and the yogis who are doing work, we are doing work with what? Bodily we will do. We will engage our mind, we will engage our buddhi, our senses also are engaged. Only in this manner we can work. That is, our senses will be there, our body will be there, mind will be there, intelligence will be there. And when they are doing work, if we can leave aside the Sanga, Sangam Tyaktva, that is our expectations and clingings and attachments and desires, we keep aside. Likes and dislikes we keep aside. What happens is Atma Shuddhi, the mind becomes pure. Yogina karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva atma shuddhaye. Atma Shuddhi. That is why we feel lot of happiness inside. We are absolutely free. We do not mind whether anybody appreciates or doesn't. We feel that we have done the work with my full mind and heart. For whatever reason, we had to do the work. So, this is in action, we have to do that. Now, in all this, whatever restraint we have to do, that danda word is there. The danda means we have to constantly keep watch. By what? Keep watch by doing vichara. Keep watch by constantly thinking and watching what the mind is doing, what the tongue is doing, what kind of talk it is wanting to do, and what kind of attitude we have during action. That is, we are watchful and alert. In spiritual sadhana, spiritual seeker, one has to have that alertness. Alertness, we cannot be dull. We have to be alert. Alert to every movement of the body, of the mind and the intelligence. And we should be the masters where we take them. We should be, the danda is that we constantly watch them, constantly guide them, constantly restrain them and take them away from the worldly varieties which will not give us any kind of happiness and constantly turn them towards this goal of self or God. But not with pressure, not with obsession, in a friendly manner. in a friendly manner. I had asked once Baba. Baba was in his body at that time, Swamiji's Gurudev. And when I met him, I said, Baba, the mind sometimes is in turmoil. It doesn't know how to get rid of anger, dislike, grumbling, and all that. I was very young at that time. Baba was very old and was very sick. And he was a person who would talk very little. Or Swamiji speaks and explains, Swamiji talks. Baba was not like that. Very few words. So he kept quiet and said, yes, whatever you do not want, the qualities and traits which you do not want, do not try to get rid of them with pressure. Tell them in a very friendly manner that I don't want you. Please leave me. You have been with me for a long time. Now I don't want you. I want the opposite qualities, the gunas. Say in a friendly manner. That is, we should not be so harsh with ourselves, so obsessed. There will be some failures, allow that. But with an earnest yearning that I should get over them. So this is the way. This way should be done. And about this talking, talking one must have some kind of control. We should not allow the talk, that speech to take over us. Many times it happens we are influenced by our anger, our emotions, our feelings, our dislike for somebody, and we just allow our speech to go, in whichever manner it goes. So, after that we only feel bad. That why did I do this? Why I could not control myself? So we have to constantly give a control and restrain. And it's very, very bad when we lose that control. What happens is that not only we feel bad inside, we feel impure inside, that all these impure vibrations get spread in the whole surrounding. That is not right. So, when we restrain our speech, actually that is what I was saying. We must be very looking inside. When there is say some situation, something has to be said. How much to be said? We should be very, very controlled. And this restraint, outside restraint of talk, it brings about a quietness in the mind. It results in a quietness in the mind. If you start doing it, we may not succeed in one day, but we take a resolve that I will practice this, I'll pursue this. Then this restraint of talk, it should bring about quietness in the mind. And that is what I'm telling. It is very important what we do throughout the day. How we allow our mind, speech, activities to go on. If you allow them to just, let loose, unbridled, when you sit for meditation will not be all right. You will not be able to control your mind, restrain your mind and get absorbed into yourself. So, you have to have a meditative mind throughout the day. Throughout the day, whatever we are doing, any small act, very, very trivial act, the mind should be completely focused in that and not thinking anything else. What we do is, when we do one work, we think of many, many other things. Allow the mind to go away. There itself catch it and bring it to the act that you are doing. While eating, while taking bath, while getting ready, or while cooking, while shopping. Of course, when we work in the office, it is absolutely necessary. So constantly see where the mind is going, catch it and bring it back. You should do that throughout the day, then only this mano va karma dandam will have its meaning. Otherwise, suddenly we cannot do it. It should become a practice. Then comes satyam samadamam api. Shama and dama, I will not do. All these mind restrained and senses restrained, same things more or less. Satyam, we should hold on to satyam. See, Ashtavakra Samhita. Ashtavakra is telling King Janaka, when King Janaka asked him, Katham jnanam avapnati, how can I get jnana? Katham muktir bhavishyati, how can I get liberation? Vairagyam cha katham praptam, how can I get vairagya? Etad bruhi mama prabhu. King Janaka, who is very enlightened, went to sage Ashtavakra and falling at his feet with hands folded, he is saying, please tell me, how can I get liberation? So, he said that, I have told this many times, Ashtavakra said, Muktim ichchasi chet tata vishayan vishavatyaja. Oh my son, if you want liberation, then all this worldliness or the worldly objects which constantly take away your mind to various thoughts, makes it restless. Vishayan vishavatyaja. Like poison, you should reject them. Like poison. Just like if we come to know that something is poison, we will simply get away from it. Reject it, remove it, throw it away. And instead what one should do? He is saying, Shama arjava daya tosha satyam piyusha badbhaja. These, like poison, you throw away, and you should worship like nectar these qualities. What are the qualities? Kshama, forbearance; arjava, straightforwardness; daya, kindness; tosha, contentment; and satyam, truthfulness. Hold on to truth, because we are looking for the ultimate truth, the ultimate reality. So, it cannot be that in our day-to-day life, in our thoughts, in our actions, in our speeches, there can be any untruth. Cannot be. Truth means truth. That is why straightforwardness and truth, arjavam and satyam, all this he has said together. We have to see in our minds. Many times we deceive ourselves. We'll be hurting somebody by some act, some words. In our mind, we will try to justify it, saying that because of that reason or this reason I have hurt. The fact is that either I got annoyed or angry, or I disliked, that is why I have done. So we are not truthful to ourselves. This truthfulness to oneself, that is absolutely necessary. Truthfulness is Atma. That truthfulness, at least to oneself, one should be truthful. Am I lazy? Am I wasting time? Am I thinking that I am very spiritual, but actually 75% of my mind is in worldly affairs? Am I projecting myself as a spiritual person? A lot of interest is there. But am I doing things which is conducive to my spirituality? That truthfulness. What is this Satya? The ultimate Satya is the truth. But to go there, each and every step we have to see whether we are pursuing Satya or not. In our mind, in our speeches, in our actions even. So these are very essential. It can be, one should try to think. And as we think, you will find that we can go to such depths. There are such depths. Actually, it is such a deep subject. We should not be in the superficial levels. And as we go deep, we'll find the joy and the bliss. Because that is the truth. So next is, now the question is, see, there are many shlokas there. Whatever is written, what Prabuddha said one by one I am taking up. But what Prabuddha said, each and every point, it is for the mind to become wholesome. What is wholesomeness? Take away your mind from other interests and make it interested in God or Brahman. The problem is that the seekers, especially in the households, you are so much surrounded by many varieties that to be wholesome, that is one-pointed, to have the interest in only one, becomes very difficult. So, they are telling us, do this, do that, do this, do that. Develop the love, develop the love. When we love, say a boy and a girl, they love each other. They have started loving each other. Then, throughout day and night, they will be thinking of each other. The whole world will disappear from their mind. Nobody has to tell them that you have to think of. A mother has a child. The mother will be thinking only of the child. Nobody has to teach the mother that think of the child. Nobody will have to tell the mother that you should love your child the best. That teaching is not necessary. Why? Because the mother loves the child. And that love is unconditional. That kind of love we must have for self and Brahman. Analyze, assess, are we going there? If not, what is hindering us? Everything that is hindering us, there is what is satya and straightforwardness is necessary. Open to yourself. See yourself. Be truthful to yourself. Understand yourself. What is hindering you? What is hindering you? Here Prabuddha is saying very, very simple things, steps to develop love. It's a devotional text. So it says, Shravanam Kirtanam Dhyanam Hare Radbhuta Karmanaha Janma Karma Gunanam Cha Tadarthe Khila Cheshtitam Shravanam Kirtanam Dhyanam Hare Radbhuta Karmanaha Janma karma gunanam cha tadarthe akhila cheshtitam. It says that, okay, all that we have discussed, I'll tell you very simple steps. Shravanam, one is Shravanam. Listen, say like you are listening. Now this listening is very much available because of the YouTube. So Shravanam, Kirtanam. Just don't only do Shravana. Also do Kirtana. Kirtana can be chant anything, learn some shlokas, chant them, understand them and chant them. And not only understand and chant, try to become that. Just like I was telling, Anyasya dosha guna chintana mashu muktva. See, I am not even telling, that is one line I have given you. You don't even have to sing it in tune or you have to remember 3-4 lines. Only one line. Anyasya dosha guna chintana mashu muktva. Seva katha rasamaho nitaram pibatvam. That one line. So when we read it, we become that. We try to become that. As soon as we hear Anyasya dosha guna chintana mashu muktva. When this sloka, Swamiji had first taught me. And I think as soon as I read it, I felt that, such an enlightening word and sentence. Yes, we should do that. I must be able to do that. Ashu muktva. Leave it. Leaving must have taken a lot of time. But that feeling that I have to leave. And then instead what? Be drenched in the qualities of the self-realized teachers or the noble and high-soul devotees. Where will you find them? Read the books. Jivan Muktas, what are their qualities? The devotee, the Bhakta Lakshanas in Bhagavad Gita, Jnana Lakshanas in Bhagavad Gita. And in all the chapters in Bhagavad Gita, there are so many qualities given. Read the Bhagavatam. In so many adhyayas, chapters, so many qualities are given. Viveka Chudamani, the Jivan Mukta Lakshanas is there. Bhagavad Gita, Sthita Prajna Lakshana is there. The qualities, there are so many. Just, it is all strewn around. We just have to pick up and make a garland and use it. So here, Shravanam Kirtanam. So one should listen, one should chant or sing. Dhyanam. One must do meditation. Not only this. By meditation, what you are doing, constantly trying to still your mind. Letting the thoughts not affect you. So dhyanam. Harer adbhuta karmanaha. And how will you do dhyana? So he says that God's lila, whatever the sports and deeds and excellences, in this is Bhagavatam, so it is God's leelas and excellences. If you like that, you read that. Or you think about the qualities of Brahman, if you want to do in that manner, in a Vedantic manner. You must have the mind dwelling on the qualities of Brahman. Anyway, you have to do that. Either you hear or you do chant or you do dhyana. And janma karma gunanam cha. So because it is Bhagavatam, it is saying that think of the Lord, hear about the Lord, think of the Lord, do kirtana about the Lord, do dhyana for the Lord, think about all His excellences and His deeds, how He got born, what all He has done in His life. That is about Krishna, He is saying. And tadarthe akhila cheshtitam. Tadarthe akhila cheshtitam. Also learn how to dedicate all the actions to Him. To whom? To God, to the Supreme Lord. That is, throughout our day, we should spend our time in Shravana, hearing about the Supreme Lord, doing kirtana about Him, doing dhyana, trying to listen to His stories, what all He did, how He got born, what all He did in His life, and all the actions that we do, we should learn how to offer it to Him. It is not just listening and singing and then go and do your whatever work you want to do. Every day, from the morning till night, what all activity we do, small, big, everything, how to offer to Him. Learn what is called offering of work to Him. My dear children, this is what is another important thing. As we were proceeding, what Prabuddha is saying, everything is important. Out of that we found that he's talking about samatva. Samatva in every situation. And that samatva will come only when we see God everywhere. Inside us, outside us, everywhere. Up, down, sideways. Everywhere He is. He alone is. That truth, to be established in that truth. How will He do it? We have to make a habit. Think. Everything that you do, your thoughts, your actions, your speeches, your interactions, the people around you, you have to feel the essence, in a sense, that one consciousness over which so much of activity is going on, so many names and forms are there. Unless we think about it, unless we contemplate about it, these spiritual truths we'll be reading, we'll be listening, we'll be happy, we'll be transported to higher dimensions, but for a short while. You will not be able to get established in them. And getting established is the goal. We should become that. Be and become. Become. One has to become. All our academic subjects, what we study, say all the languages, if we study history, geography, then science subjects, physics, chemistry, then maths, biology, economics, commerce, anything that we study. We don't have any compulsion to become. We cannot become also. We can be master of the subject. If we study it well, we can become master of the subject. And all the knowledge that we get, that is only for our material life. To get jobs, better jobs, earn money, more money, live luxuriously, comfortably, save money, earn money, that's all. You may be famous, you may be recognized, given awards, only that much. And this subject, this Brahma Vidya or devotional text, it compels us to become that. If you are reading about Atma and Brahman, it compels us. It tells us that you have to become that. You are that. You have forgotten. You have to understand that you are that. Why? It is a subject about us, one's own self. And by knowing so, what will happen? There will be eternal unaffectedness, eternal happiness, eternal fearlessness, which the other subjects cannot give us. It can give us money, position, name, fame, prestige and recognition. But it cannot give us fearlessness, cannot give us unaffectedness. And this Brahma Vidya will give us unaffectedness by knowing the self, fearlessness by knowing the self, and universalness, from constriction to universalness. Oh, I didn't even notice the time. Okay, I think I've crossed the time, 10 minutes up. So next time I will do this Shravanam in more detail. How we should listen. Listen also. How to listen? With what Shraddha? What exactly is listening? We'll see that. Okay, so I got very much carried away by this Shravanam and Kirtanam and Dhyanam. Actually, it is necessary. When we get into this, no, the mind just goes into it. Sampurnam Jagadeva Nandanavanam Sarvepi Kalpadrumaha Gangam Vari Samasta Vari Nivaha Punyas Samasta Kriyaha Vachah Prakrita Samskrita Shruti Shiro Varanasi Medini Sarvavasthitirasya Vastu Vishaya Drishte Parabrahmani Sarvavasthitirasya Vastu Vishaya Drishte Parabrahmani. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru.